Donald is a successful serial entrepreneur, an investor, an author, a speaker, and a great leader of people. Donald has had numerous exits to companies like Adobe, KPIT, and Behringer Capital, so very experienced entrepreneur with lots of exits. Today, he continues to mentor and be an advisor in addition to being the CEO of WalkWest here in Raleigh. And oh, by the way, he's a pirate. So are there any pirates out there? Yes, sir. All right. When Eric and I reached out to Donald to ask if he'd be willing to speak at T-Rex, we truly did not have a topic in mind. And if you've heard Donald speak before, it really doesn't matter, right? For us, just having Donald on stage was a huge win for us and for you today. You'll be hard-pressed to meet a more humble, gracious, and giving leader. Please help me in welcoming Donald Thompson to the stage.
Hey. Can everybody hear me? All right, good. Thank you.
It's just not loading is the problem.
It's going to be fine. Whether slides show up or not, I'm here, and we'll kick it for a little bit and talk. Like,
Sorry about that, Donald.
it's okay. Hey, no worries. How's everybody doing? Good. So one of the things I'll usually do when I chat with folks, whether it's large audience, small audience, I'll tell a quick story or two. It'll relax me a little bit. I still get a little bit nervous every time I talk. One, I want to do a good job. Two, I'm not a public speaker. I just have things I share. Is the way that I kind of relate to folks. But I was thinking about the slides showing up, and I might have told this story before, but I remember when I was doing enterprise sales, and this was maybe 10, 15 years ago, I remember flying to Germany, and I was in a conference room in Munich, and for this billion-dollar company that I was looking to partner with, we had all of their top sales VPs from all over Europe. And so this was a pretty significant meeting, and I had 1 hour to pitch them on our products and services and how they could integrate and bundle with their sales process. And so our application engineer was there, and we were getting ready to do everything. And many of you know it's not really a Mac thing, but there's different chords in Europe and in the US, correct? Yeah, we didn't quite have a couple. And so I remember my guy fumbling and XYZ, and then we finally found that he had it in the bag. He was prepared. He just got a little nervous, whatever. And then he finally put it together, and everything was good. Thing throws up on the screen, and then literally computer crashes. Oh, shit. I'm like, this is not great, right? And so I said, don't worry about it. Let's just roll. And so I remember talking for about 15 minutes, and he's furiously trying to figure this out, put it on a flash drive, get another computer going. And in mid-sentence, he got on slide 6 where I was, and we finished the presentation, and it worked out fine. The reason I tell you the story, number one, no, it's nothing like this, but number two, you have to be ready based on the circumstances that present you in sales. It's always going to be different. It's always going to be unique. It's never going to be perfect, the things you experience. The reason I'm here today is to talk about 3 things: the alignment between sales, marketing, and your personal brand. And those 3 tools, if you will, those 3 legs to a stool are really what give you the credibility for people to say yes to you. You can represent a wonderful organization. Your marketing can be and your messaging can be very much aligned, very useful, very omni-channel, very digitally savvy, all the cool things that we're doing today. But then you as a personal ambassador to the organization are still the tip of the spear that makes the company fly off the handle in terms of somebody's mental picture of who you are, what you do, and why you can help them. Who you are, what you do, and why you can help them. Many years ago, if you think about companies that are doing things in their community and different things like that, companies want to be associated with brands and products and people that they're proud to be associated with. So who you are matters more than it ever did before. That reputation, that authenticity, it's critically important. Before someone sits down with you, one of the things that I like about this topic is it's something that I'm still doing today. It's not something that I have done and that I'm sharing kind of best practices from 10 years ago. So I was on the phone today with the CEO of a multi-billion-dollar pharmaceutical company. And I had 30 minutes on this call. I've been trying to get in touch with this individual for literally months, and I finally secured a 30-minute slot on his calendar. For whatever reason, the call got started 10 minutes late, so now I have 20 minutes, not 30. And in those 20 minutes, I had to do these same three things. I had to explain to him who we are, Donald, WalkWest, what we do in a way that he would understand and care about, and then why we matter to him. Fortunately for us in our business, he liked enough of what he heard to then set a second meeting, a follow-up meeting with some other folks on his team. Because when you're talking to somebody at the C-suite, it's not really what they decide, it's the team of folks that they bring with you that helps them decide. So from a selling mentality, if you're able to get a meeting with the decision maker and you think it's going to go faster, that's not necessarily true. It will go smoother, that is true. Because most people don't make decisions individually that they don't have to implement. And so from a sales process, you just have to remember some of those critical things. So I'll fly through a couple of slides, but I'm going to leave plenty of time for questions so we can just kick it and have a good time. A little bit in terms of why you would listen to me. Like who is this guy? I appreciate the kind words, but I'm either on the board or have invested in a handful of companies that are doing some great stuff that I'm really, really proud of. All the way from very little startups that are doing a couple $100,000 in revenue to mid-sized companies that are doing $20 million in revenue and above, and all the way in between. Who have I sold to? Why would you listen to me? I have an experience level in terms of selling at the very, very beginning of a business that's growing, but also to Fortune 500, Fortune 1000 companies. And so everything from selling through enterprise sales reps to selling directly one-on-one as an individual, selling without an application engineer to selling with one. It really doesn't matter. My 25 years of selling, it's really come down to learning those same simple principles, and we'll say how those have worked. But those experiences, there's a lot of stories in those logos. So here's the thing that I would share, right? We're fighting for attention. We want to develop trust, and we want to make sure people are believe that we're capable of doing what we promise, keeping our promises. And ultimately, in sales, it's still about connecting with people in a way that they believe the words that you're saying. It's about that 30 seconds that you give someone that determines whether you want to be in a room with them again or not. It's still those little subtleties of winning in the marketplace that are business critical. I'm a marketer now. I'm the CEO of a digital marketing firm, a digital consultancy, but I know better than anyone that sales is still the tip of the spear. Sales is how the lights stay on. Sales is how you grow. Sales is how you take that fear of failure and you make that next call again. And for those of you that have chosen sales as a profession, I not only applaud you, I'm proud of you, and hopefully give you a couple tools that will help you be even more successful. Here's a couple tips for client meetings. We're going to go through a couple basics, then we'll get into some higher end stuff, but we'll do it quickly. One of the things I still find with new salespeople that I'm bringing onto the company is most people still have a false sense of security about how amazing their personality is. How they're going to win the room with their witty joke and repartee. Right? I know this guy and I play golf with him. I go to church with him. I'm in the glee club with him. I'm in the I don't care group. Because at the end of the day, your client has a job to do for that business. And your personal relationship is no longer going to move the needle. It is what have you done for me lately and what will you do for me today? That's the environment that we're in. So that means everything about your pitch has to be orchestrated and prepared. The second thing that I try to do and try to teach people that are brand new that are working with me, it's not what you say, it's what you ask. It's not what you know before you go in the meeting, it's the information you leave with. So better formed questions are really the secret sauce of high-level sales and high-level, it's like this. If I talk to you for 20 minutes, that's my job today. But on the phone with the CEO that I've been trying to get with, I'm trying to get him to answer questions that will allow me to say something that matters, that is memorable, that he or she will take to their executive meeting and say, I want to talk about this company, WalkWest, because they can create video content that has a history of 10 million plus organic views. I want him to remember something that matters based on a pain that he needs to solve. I cannot do that just by reading information about him or his company on the internet. I can do that by asking well-informed questions and say simply, with the marketing work that you guys are doing internally or with other service providers, What would you do different with your magic wand? That question gets the person thinking. I'm not telling them I'm better than what they're doing internally. I'm not competing with my competition. I said, based on what you're already doing today, with your magic wand, what would you do differently? Exactly right. And then what that individual will do is guide me to the right conversation we should have that day, based on their needs. By asking a question, I create an environment of humility. It's fine that we're confident of salespeople. It's fine that we have A-type winning personalities, but it is also critically important that you know the right thing to say at the right moment to the right people. And you only do that through the questions that you ask. The final bullet is outcomes and next steps. So many people still in the sales game are so excited that they have a good meeting, and they think it's because the customer was polite to you. That makes no difference. People being polite in purchase orders are different. Those are fundamentally different things. Somebody booking another meeting with you, somebody giving you action items of questions they want you to answer and feedback, next steps that are actionable are what a key meeting will result in. And that's very important to distinguish. Politeness doesn't pay light bills. Sales skills matter. Here's just a couple of numbers that reinforce why we're all important as sales professionals. Products don't just sell themselves, no matter how amazing the marketing is. And again, I'm preferential to marketing. So what is our job as salespeople, as marketers, as we align sales, marketing, and our personal brand? One of the big things that I try to do with clients is I ask them for the opportunity for me to prove myself. I don't go in asking for the $20,000, $30,000 a month retainer, $3 million deal. I ask them for the opportunity to prove myself. I'll use a phrase like this. What project or problem could we just chip away with you that, 10, 15, 20, 30,000, just whatever budget just doesn't move the needle for you guys, but a challenge that's important enough that if you solve it with us, you'll trust me more. Again, that's a question. And I get that person answering that question, and I'm looking for those little ways in because I know when I land, I can grow from there. The other thing is educational. A lot of times consumers only know information that they've read on the internet, and the internet's a wonderful place, but depending on your point of view, you can find any information that you want. So actually, the internet is not about education. It is this plethora of data that is just thrown at people, right? If somebody is a Republican, they can find all the information about why being a Republican is good and being a Democrat is bad. And you can counterpoint, point, counterpoint, point, counterpoint. You can do that for decades. Your clients can do that about you, your product, your company. For every good thing, they can go and find a bad review. For every bad review, there's a good one. Your job as a salesperson is to bifurcate that information into the bite-sized chunks that allow your client to create that link between what it is that our company does and the need that the client has. And then provide them the information from your marketing, provide them the articles from a third party that reinforce the sentiment that you want them to have. Make their research of you and your company easy to do. I'm going to skip this and keep on our time. One of the things that people can do more of, because the tools are all out there, is the developing and the awareness of your own personal brand. So your company has sales, they have scripts for you, they have methodology, they have product training, they have all the different things. Marketing, usually if you're not in marketing, you're given kind of a marketing pack, you're given a PowerPoint deck or a proposal deck in my case. All the different tools are provided to you as a sales professional. What the company cannot provide to you is your personal brand. So you have to ask yourself, when was the last thought-provoking blog that you authored about your industry? When was the last time you looked and not only read something that was good for you to learn that sharpened your axe, but sent that to one of your key clients so that they could be better and smarter because they know you? Your personal brand is what tips the scale when you're competing at a high level. and you and your competitors are neck and neck. Most of us don't work for companies where our product or service is so far and away better, we just walk up and ask for money. Right? I don't know, maybe somebody, right? Has anybody ever worked for, does anybody work for Adobe in here? All right, so I'm going to talk about Adobe for a minute. And one of my friends, Greg Boone, works for ICI, and he's the president, and they do a lot of work with Adobe. And I'm going to talk a little smack with Adobe for a minute. They have great products, amazing company. But having worked with them for a very, very long time, if somebody's carrying that Adobe card, they're a $5-6 billion brand in the marketing space, and they're good at it. So if I'm an upstart player competing against Adobe, that's a challenge. Because a big enterprise customer is not going to get fired by picking Adobe or picking IBM or picking whatever. Most of us that are cutting our teeth in sales don't have that kind of brand power behind us. So every single thing your client researches about you needs to make sure that they benefit from betting on you. LinkedIn is a great place to do it. Facebook, not so much. Facebook's for your personal, like how many Cheerios your kids ate that month, all that stuff. Political views, all that stuff. Sports views, man, Tiger won, all that stuff. Right? People were real fired up, Tiger winning, me too, but not that much. I mean, it didn't pay me. I had buddies of mine like, did you see what happened? I was like, oh my God, like there was an earthquake or something. They were like, Tiger won. I was like, yeah, he's not paying us. And I'm a fan, you know what I mean? But I was like, people were like freaking out. It's not like it was Game of Thrones or something. Like, that's important. That's important. Right? I mean, like, we could talk about that all day. Separate meeting, but equally as fun. Here's the thing I started to do personally, is I made networking a business priority for me. I would take cups of coffee with people with really no focus on what I was there to gain, but to really learn about industry, learn about people that were on the cutting edge and what they were doing. I started being intentional about my networking, realizing that networking is not going to meetings and making new friends. I've got friends. Networking means if I can do something for you, please ask of it. If it's mutually beneficial, let's continue talking about it. Networking means let's get to know each other personally enough that the trust is there, but let's know enough about each other's business to see if we can help each other prosper. Networking should have a meaningful financial purpose. That's what it means. And a lot of times people confuse that with making new friends. It's different. There's plenty of people I network with, refer business to, that I don't know personally, but I know they're good at their job. I know the company they work for is successful. I know that they produce results, and I can move people in their direction because of their professional pedigree. Networking is about finding more outcomes like that, so with your customers, with your partners, the people in your network, you can become a center of influence. So people pick up the phone. I had a guy pick up the phone and was in Atlanta. He was moving to the Raleigh area, and through a friend of a friend said, Don, who are some of the top venture capitalists and angel investors in town? I'd love to know them. Don't want to go through a list of 100 people. And because he was recommended by a friend of a friend, I gave him 3 names. He was like, thank you, all appreciative, XYZ. 6 months later, we had gotten to know each other on LinkedIn. He knew a couple of people I really needed to know. And I sure am glad that I was thoughtful. I didn't just answer his email in a flippant way. I gave him the best information that I could, and he reciprocated. Networking is about doing meaningful communication with other professionals, and expecting something back is not wrong. So one of the comments that the gentleman made, what's your name? Justin said, not being afraid to reach out to people that are above you. And one could use that, I would just say, that have larger titles. Because I think if you're crushing it as a professional, nobody's above you. But somebody might have a bigger title at the time. Yeah. Exactly right. And I think that the goal in the game is most successful people are really easy to work with. It's the wannabes in the middle that are a problem. I want you to, I mean this to be a factual statement. Most successful people are really easy to get with. network with. It's the wannabes in the middle. When you distinguish between the two, you will lose that fear of talking to people that might have a little bit bigger title. You just need to make sure you have something to say. So we talked about a couple of these. Let me bring it home and then we'll answer a couple questions. Building your personal brand, aligning it with the marketing messaging at your company is pretty simple. Write blogs that link with the core values of your company and your product, but do it in an interesting and fun way. The big thing I would communicate to you is regarding sales is that sales is not closing. Closing is one part of sales. And so when you think about sales, it's really the ability to link products and services that you have with problems and pain that your clients have. To me, sales is really, really simple. And some of the best salespeople that I've known, that I've worked with, that I've partnered with, that I've hired, are not the best orators. They're not necessarily the most outgoing personality. That's a facade. But they are good at linking pain that a client has with a product that our company has, and how those things can be implemented with power together. And so the last thing that I'll say, and then we'll go into to any questions that you guys have, is I'm super proud to be a sales professional. And because I view what I do for a living in that consultative manner, in that leadership manner. And I think being a salesperson allows you to really be a mini CEO of your own company, because you have to intertwine all the different aspects of the business to be able to speak powerfully about the business. And one of the things that's helped me all along the way as a professional, and and it's really easy to do, when you meet people that are great at what they do and you're pitching them and you're sharing something about your company, try to end your meetings 5 minutes early so you can ask the ones where you develop some rapport for advice, counsel, feedback on the industry, on trends, on things that they see in pitches that you'd like to do better. I remember talking to a very, very successful venture guy, and I asked a very simple question. I said, you see hundreds of pitches a year. This was on the investment standpoint. He said, yeah. I said, what separates the ones that you're really interested in from the ones that you just kind of, eh? He says, well, depending on the industry, there's different answers to that. He said, but here's the one thing that always stands out to me. I'm always most interested in the folks that do their research first before building a product that they assume everyone wants. Because it tells me something about the entrepreneur, that they're going to listen to the data. It tells me about their readiness because they don't want to waste money on building something wrong the first time or the second time. They want to do their homework. And said, anytime I found somebody that's talked to 100 people, they have a better chance of building the right product first. So now let's flip this to sales and marketing. What kind of research are you doing before you're going to your client call? Quick search on LinkedIn? Or are you really ready? Not because you know that somebody's married or single, kids, no kids, all that's fine. When somebody's trying to sell me, I appreciate it if you know about me and you read my blog. I appreciate all that. But if you know about the challenges I have in my business and can get to that point faster, better, I want to hear more of what you have to say. Because at the end of the day, everybody that you talk to wants to make more money, wants to grow their business. If they're in a nonprofit, they want to grow their member base. They have certain desires and needs. And if you can fit and fill those needs, right, there's somebody that they're going to want to hang with for a long, long time. So, Vince, did I do okay on time? All right. So we'll open up for questions. Thank you guys so much. Yep, so the question was, give a little bit more detail on the preparation. How do you prepare for your sales call? How do you prepare to learn the pain points of a different customer or client? If it's an enterprise client and they are public, there's a bunch of public information about who they are, what they've been doing, how they're spending money, marketing spend, there's 10Ks, there's all kinds of stuff. You just gotta really be hungry enough to do the work, right? And really kind of read through and do that kind of data search. The other thing that's really important is if you're selling at the right level and you're selling at executives, they've written things. They've spoken at events. So search them out as individuals and listen to what they talk about, true, but how they speak about things. Because their hot buttons, their passions will come out, right? It just has to. So number one is the company. If it's enterprise, if it's public, you can do that. But also the individual, when you're selling to executives or C-level folks, they've usually done quite a bit of writing or speaking in different things, and so you can research that. Third thing, who in your network knows somebody at that company? This is really important. They don't have to know the individual that you need to talk to. What you need to understand is there any major things going on in the company that you can find out through a coffee with friends? Like, if you're selling something for $1 million and the company you're talking to is about ready to get bought, they're not buying from you right now. They're busy. You can know if there's some macro things happening in that industry. If you're working with a client in the medical field or whatever, and their drug just got denied approval, they're about to have layoffs. You'd better have other people in your pipeline. Does that make sense? Right? Like there's certain things you can kind of figure out by doing the research. But those are a couple quick examples. But I definitely would talk to somebody that works at the company that you just have a cup of coffee and just what big is going on at your company so that you can at least be generally in the right way of information. And then one final thing, and this is important on the research. Who else in your firm has sold to someone like your prospect? And the reason that's critical is there's a bunch of research in your company, old decks, old research that you can cheat the clock. And I love doing that, right? So if I'm going after a certain industry and I know we've sold in banking 4 other deals, I don't want to reinvent the deck on financial institutions, how they're getting customers, how they do their ROI on digital. I want all that other data that's already in my company to come to me so I get smarter faster, if that makes sense. Okay.
Another question, John? The last one, could you touch on Proposa?
So one of the things that's cool about technology is you can do, not tricks, but cool things. So Proposa is a product that WalkWest birthed, and our founder and CEO spun out and launched the company. We got a couple $100,000 in angel and built a cool product. It basically gives you a digital tether to your presentation. So instead of just sending a PowerPoint or a keynote, you send a presentation, doesn't need a designer, and basically what it'll do is when the person opens it, you'll be alerted. It gives you a heat map to where they spent time, and more importantly, you can change it real time. I've been on the phone using Proposa, and I had a client say, yeah, I'm loving this, I really don't care for that section 1. Boop. I said, what section? God looked at it and he goes, okay, go on, right? It allows you to have that ability to alter that proposal in a way, because a lot of times you're working with a champion, not the decision maker. So you're going to be iterating with your client. You want to make them a partner. And then you move from there. But that's a digital technology that we have that's pretty cool. And it's Proposa.io. There's a free trial. And literally, if you email me and you like it, tell me T-Rex, and we'll give you some kind of discount, like 30% or something. Like, it's a cool tool.
50%.
Oh, 50? Oh, yeah, 50. Yeah, 50. Yeah. My bad. I wanted to make sure he's paying attention. But yeah, it's cool. It's a great thing for salespeople. Anything else?
What's the toughest lesson you personally had to learn about sales?
What's the toughest lesson I personally had to learn about sales? This is a very good question. It's a small world. Your personal brand is everything. And I will tell a quick story. That's a really important question. I had an opportunity early in my sales career where a client needed a service that we had, and they needed it pretty significantly. And so I marked up our service stuff probably at least double. And I remember taking it to my mentor, Grant, and he was like, Don, I like money, but it's a small environment and our reputation is the only thing we have. Is this a fair price for what we do for what the customer needs? I was like, yeah, it's double. It's fair for me. My commission goes double. He said, Don, you're not hearing me. Is this a fair price for what we do for what the customer needs? He said, go back and bring me back that price. And I came back, and they had a need. There's nothing wrong with pushing the price up a little bit or whatever. They wanted us to go quickly. And what that taught me is that if I'm confident enough in what I'm doing and who I am, my integrity is not for sale. And if I do the right thing consistent enough, long enough, consistent enough, long enough, then I don't ever have to play games with prices like that or my reputation. I can do it 100% with high integrity, and I'll make plenty of money on the back end, but my reputation will supersede any one deal that I do. And I learned that very early on, and I was very glad to have a mentor that taught me that. And you hear me pausing a little bit, but that really, it was an important lesson, and I would say the most important one I learned is never sell your integrity for $1. And I wanted to. We're money motivated salespeople. I was into it. But when explained to me in terms of what I was risking long term, I got the message pretty quick. It was a great question. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it.